myself, Dr. Pravita Kumar, Professor, Department of Chemistry, Shri Aurobindo College from University of Delhi. In previous lecture, chemical toxicology, we had discussed about what is chemical toxicology, and along with that we had discussed their different branches of chemical toxicology, and also we had discussed there the important some toxic chemicals, like we had discussed about the lead, carbon monoxide, mercury, and that toxic chemicals and biological effect on that toxic chemicals. In continuation of toxicology, today we will discuss about the toxic chemicals in air or air pollution. Why do we need air, or why air is important for every living organism on this planet? Without food, human being can stay alive for several days. Similarly, without water, we can stay alive for days, but without air, one cannot survive for than a minute. So you can understand air is very important for survival, and the air which contain very important, or we can say main or most sustainable element, which is called oxygen. So the every living organism breathe in oxygen, and that oxygen which we breathe in help us to grow, to reproduce, or help us to convert our food into energy. But the air which we are inhaling is very toxic. It contains lots of toxic chemicals, and these toxic chemicals are released due to various activities. These activities can be natural activities or human made or man made activities, like volcanic eruptions, burning of fossil fuels, burning of garbage in open. Similarly, that is burning of agricultural waste, construction and demolition activities, transportation, solid waste management, indoor air pollution, especially dust, dirt, and the chemicals which we used in our daily activities at our home, and industrial emissions. So these are the main cause of air pollution, or we can say main cause of toxic chemicals which release the toxic chemical in air, and these are main cause of concerns for everyone. Here the air which are releasing nowadays in the atmosphere is very toxic. So as I told you, the toxic chemicals which release into the air, most of the human made activities. Why we should care about the air pollution? Because the air pollution is a contamination of the indoor or outdoor environment by any chemical, physical or biological agent that modify the natural characteristics of the atmosphere. I would like to tell you indoor pollution, the sprays which we used at our home or personal care product also having some dangerous volatile organic chemicals which release into the air at very cause of concern for our health. Even you have seen around yourself asbestos sheets. Asbestos sheets are used for the roofing because of the stability, and they act as an insulator. That asbestos sheets contain minute fibrous microscopic fibrous that is released due to the abrasion of atmospheric conditions. So that is very harmful. So these are the some indoor air pollutions. WHO data show that almost all of the global population, understand this, all of the global population, around 99% of the global population breathe air that exceeds WHO guidelines limit and contains high levels of pollutants, with low and middle income countries suffering from the highest exposure to these toxic chemicals. Around 3.2 million deaths every year as a result of household exposure to smoke from dirty cook stoves and fuels. Learners, before describing the air pollution, I would like to important fact about our earth. Fragrance of air. Everybody feels during the rainy season earthy aroma of that earth. What is the cause? I would like to tell you, it's very important, the chemical which released during the rainy season, and from that chemical we smell the earth, or the aroma of the earth, because the oil secreted by the plants during dry period and the chemical compound secreted by the bacteria splitting of the atmospheric chemicals to form ozone and stormier showers also. So the soil dwelling bacteria like actinomycetes, cyanobacteria secretes the compound called geosmin, and this geosmin which has a earthy smell. When they produce spores, the rain disturbs the compound from the soil, and petrichor, term coined by the Australian scientist in 1964, which is unique and represent the earthy smell of rain. So it is the geosmin, it is a chemical compound which are released during the bacteria, and it is from the bacteria, and it is a sesquiterpene, and it is responsible for the earthy smell of rain. And also beetroot also have some earthy taste because of the formation of this chemical compound geosmin. So this is the structure of geosmin, and this chemical compound is responsible for the earthy aroma of rain. Everyone have enjoyed this earthy aroma of rain, but nowadays due to the air pollution, due to the nature of the rain, this earthy aroma of rain is also suffering. So the odor detection of this earthy aroma threshold in humans is very low, which people can easily smell, and 0.006 to 0.01 mu grams per liter in water. So you can understand a minute quantity of that chemical compound during the rainy season are human, we can easily detect this smell. Now we will discuss here what is air pollution and what is atmosphere, what is air, composition of Earth's atmosphere, and what are the pollutants. There are two types of pollutants, primary pollutants and secondary pollutants. So we will discuss here the primary pollutants. Now what is atmosphere? We can see in the sky, the atmosphere is envelope of gases that surrounds the earth. So simply we can say the envelope of gases that surround the earth called atmosphere or turbulent gases blanket. This atmosphere forms a protective covering around the earth, and also it protects organisms from the sun's damaging UV rays. Also it is very important, this atmosphere maintain the right temperature range for life, and it also radiates heat back the earth's surface, keeping planet warm, and it supplies the gases necessary for the survival, necessary for the breathing. Also it provides air, right? So the atmosphere, which is blanket of air, envelope of air, provided air needed for respiration and photosynthesis, protection of all life from the hazardous or deadly radiation from the space, or we can say the atmosphere filter for UV and X-rays. Gases, dust, water, droplets, ice crystals, all these things contain having atmosphere. Atmosphere contains all these things. So the permanent atmospheric gases. Now the question is arising here, what are the permanent gases which always remains in the air, remains in the atmosphere? Learners, there is 78% of nitrogen and 21% of oxygen. These two, nitrogen and oxygen, constant over recent times. So the percentage of nitrogen and 78% of nitrogen and 21% of oxygen is a constant over the past several years, and along with the nitrogen and oxygen there is argon, there is another carbon chlorides, another different types of trace gases also present in the atmosphere. During the past 150 years, the concentration of atmospheric carbon dioxide is increases due to burning of fossil fuels, and currently it is decreasing 0.039% to 0.028%. So we can describe air. Air is the invisible mixture of gases that surrounds the earth, and along with the nitrogen and oxygen, 1%, 0.1% of atmosphere consists of trace constituents, and this is the composition of air, and the trace gases which is present in a small amount in planet's atmosphere. So in the slide you can see the composition of air, nitrogen, argon, oxygen and other gaseous elements present in the atmosphere, or we can say in the air. Now trace gases, we have taken the data as a percentage volume at sea level at 15 degrees Celsius. Carbon dioxide, which is present in the trace amount 0.04%, argon 0.9344%, neon, which is also trace gas, it is 0.001818%, helium, it is 0.00524%, methane is also trace gas, hydrogen, xenon and oxygen, all these are the trace gases, and we have shown here the percentage at which percent these trace gases are present in the atmosphere. Nitrogen oxide also as a trace gases, iodine also present, carbon monoxide, it is in a trace amount 1.2 into 10 to the power minus 5%. Now ammonia is also trace gas which is present in the atmosphere in the amount 1 into 10 to the power minus 6. The percentage of carbon dioxide in recent years. So one data shows that the percentage of carbon dioxide in 1996 was 0.0314% and in 2019 it was 0.047%, but in 2020 it is decreased from 0.047% to 0.0415%. So there is also a reference mentioned here. If you wanted to go see in the details, you can go through the reference. Now parameters of atmosphere vary considerably with altitude. If density is decreases, altitude is increases, the pressure drops from 1 atmosphere at sea level to 3 into 10 to the power 7 atmosphere at 100 kilometer above the sea level, while temperature varies from minus 92 to 1200 degrees Celsius. So, the mass of atmosphere is approximately 5 into 10 to the power 15 tons. So, this is the mass of the atmosphere. The Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change, that is IPCC, states that no single atmospheric gases lifetime can be given for CO2, carbon dioxide. Chapter 8, this is Article 5, Climate Change 2013. This is physical science basis. This is due to the high rate of growth and the disturbance of Earth's carbon cycle by geologic extraction and burning of fossil fuels or consumption of fossil fuels. So, the carbon dioxide lifetime effectively increase as more fossil fuels or carbon is extracted by the humans. Now, closest layers to the Earth's surface is troposphere. So, it is the layer we live and contain all weather, clouds, rain and snow. And learners, we breathe the air in troposphere. So, in troposphere, air is never found clear due to natural and man-made activities, and this is the main cause of air pollution or releasing of toxic chemicals into the air. Due to that toxic chemicals, it disturbs the cycle of the gases, that is the greenhouse gas emission. What is the greenhouse gas emission? Greenhouse gases trap the heat and make the planet warmer because of the burning of fossil fuels, because of the generation of electricity, transportation, and this transportation is the largest source of greenhouse gas emission from the human activity. So, in the data you can see US Environmental Protection Agency 2022 here, which is the transportation is the biggest factor for the releasing of toxic chemicals into the air or air pollution. Along with there are different sectors, agriculture sectors, industrial sectors, electricity sectors, mining sectors, but transportation in the world is the biggest concern for the cause of air pollution or the releasing of toxic chemicals into the air. Carbon dioxide contributes, which release during the combustion of fuels, about 20% of Earth's total greenhouse effects. It absorbs IR radiation, infrared radiation from Earth's surface, and as it passes through the atmosphere. Carbon dioxide, you can see the structure of the carbon dioxide. This carbon dioxide has two basic modes of vibrations that create a strong dipole moment, which causes its strong absorption of IR radiation. Along with the carbon dioxide, argon, nitrogen, oxygen in atmosphere are greenhouse gases. They are not greenhouse gases because they cannot absorb these three gases, argon, nitrogen and oxygen. These are not into the category of greenhouse gases. These elements cannot absorb infrared radiations, red radiation, as they do not have vibration with a dipole moment. Greenhouse gases absorb and emit radiant energy within the thermal infrared range, and it traps heat into the atmosphere and increase the global temperature. So it is the greenhouse gas emission is the responsible for global warming. Learners, carbon dioxide, which is a greenhouse gas, makes 75% of all greenhouse gas eruption released through the volcanic eruptions and human activities. Along with the carbon dioxide, methane occurs naturally through the decomposition processes, and it increase in the atmosphere and atmospheric methane over the past 2 centuries, and it comes from the human activities such as cattle farming. Along with the cattle farming, rice production, cultivation of rice, rotting of organic metals in landfills, these are also main cause of methane emission into the air. US methane emission, it is source US Environmental Agency 2020 EPA proposed strategies to reduce methane emission by 33% by 2030, which are more damaging environment than CO2. So the methane emission is most dangerous than the carbon dioxide. Learners, India ranked 4th, and its methane emissions are nearly 1/3 of the China after the USA. So the methane emissions accounted for 409 million tons of carbon dioxide, that is 14.43% of India's total greenhouse emission in 2016. Methane emissions from the rice cultivations. So methane emission and rice cultivation is proportionally to each other. More rice production, more methane emission. But we need food. We cannot stop the rice cultivation, because the world's more than half of the world's population depend upon the rice. So we cannot stop the rice cultivation, but the scientists, agriculturists are working on the rice seeds, rice species which use the less water. So what is the cause of cultivation emission of methane during rice cultivation? Learners, because the rice grows in flooded fields, which is called rice paddies. So the amount of water needed ends up the blocking oxygen from getting to the soil, and it creates ideal conditions for the bacteria in soil to emit the methane. At between 50 to 100 million tons of methane a year, rice agriculture produced. China, Russia and USA are 2 methane emitters countries. India's methane emission in 2016 were 409 million tons, of which 73.96% from the agriculture sector, 10.62% from the energy sector, 14.46% from the wastewater. Solid waste management, 0.96% was from the industrial processes. So the Indian government is taking a large number of initiatives to reduce the methane emissions, such as Govardhan scheme, organic bioresources, new national biogas and organic manure programs, cattle waste utilization programs. So in this lecture we had discussed about the toxic chemicals in air and which type of toxic chemicals are released into the air. There are different types of activities. Some are natural activities and some is that is man-made activities. So in man-made activities, transportation is the biggest sector which release tons of toxic chemicals into the air and which are responsible for the humans' health and also damaging our ecosystem. In the next part, we will continue the toxic chemical into the air, and we will discuss different types of toxic chemicals which release during the different types of activities. Thank you.